10 things that you'll see for the first time in your life. Hello everyone. In some countries, there's a game where the child is asked to guess which of the items is edible and which is not. Depending on the country, the rules of this game can be very different. What is considered very exotic in one country might be the staple food in the other. For example, in Asian countries, people eat insects and snakes, which seems pretty weird to Europeans. But marbled beefsteaks, which you'll find in almost every restaurant in Europe, are very rare in India because of local religious beliefs. But today, we'll tell you about the food you most likely have never seen in your life. Warning, you might not want to try it. Let's get started. Number 1. Spotless watermeal. If you spend your vacation time at the lake or had house ponds or pools when you were younger, you might have seen this. Most often people try to get rid of this stuff because it pollutes the reservoir and it makes it impossible to use it. But there are exceptions like spotless watermeal, which is rootless duckweed. It is a floating freshwater plant which is the smallest vascular plant on Earth. It is an aquatic plant which grows in quiet water bodies such as ponds. The green part of the plant, the frond, is a sphere measuring about 1 millimeter wide, but with a flat top that floats at the water's surface. The plant produces a minute flower fully equipped with one stamen and one pistil. In cooler condition, the plant becomes dormant and sinks to the bed of the water body to overwinter as a turion. The plant is a mixotroph which can produce its own energy by photosynthesis and absorb it from the environment in a form of dissolved carbon. This plant is used as food in some countries. In Southeast Asia, spotless watermeal, which looks very much like a tobacco caviar in sushi, is a popular seasoning for omelettes and soups. German and Indian scientists discovered that the plant contains the same amount of protein as soybeans and peas, plus a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which are part of the cell membranes and blood vessels. Some Western nutritionists are already predicting that in a couple of years, it will become the new global superfood. Number 2. Buddha's hand. Buddha's hand is an unusual name for an unusual looking fruit. The finger-like strands give the fruit its other name, fingered citron. But hand is apt to those fingers of the fruit come together at the base that holds them all together, that looks remarkably like a hand. As much as Buddha's hand looks more like a decoration than an edible fruit, rest assured that it is, in fact, edible, at least on the outside. The inside doesn't have pulp or juice, so it's useless on that front. And yet it zest. While you can't eat this crazy looking citrus fruit like an orange or a grapefruit, its zest adds a lovely lemon blossom like flavor to dishes. Like most citrus, this fruit needs a warm or at least temperate the climate in which to grow. Where lemons and oranges can grow, so too can Buddha's hand. Also, like other citrus fruit, it ripens and is harvested starting in winter and may be available to buy into spring. It tends to come into season a bit more in line with grapefruit than oranges, so you may be well into winter before you'll see it piled up at markets. Note that its aroma is quite intense, lovely and floral but concentrated and intense. A little goes a long way in any dish. Don't like to cook but love its wonderful smell? Number 3. Romanesco broccoli. Romanesco broccoli, also known as Roman cauliflower or simply Romanesco, is an edible flower bud of the species Brassica alacri. First documented in Italy, it is chartreuse in color. Romanesco has a striking appearance because its form is a natural approximation of a fractal. When compared to a traditional cauliflower, its texture as a vegetable is far crunchier, and its flavor is not as assertive, being delicate and nutty. Romanesco superficially resembles a cauliflower, but it is chartreuse in color. The inflorescence is self-similar in character, with the branch meristems making up a logarithmic spiral. In this sense, the bud's form approximates a natural fractal. Each bud is composed of a series of smaller buds, all arranged in yet another logarithmic spiral. This self-similar pattern continues at several smaller levels. The pattern is only an approximate fractal since the pattern eventually terminates when the feature size becomes sufficiently small. The number of spirals on the head of the Romanesco broccoli is a Fibonacci number. Nutritionally, Romanesco is rich in vitamin C, vitamin K, dietary fiber, and carotenoids. The causes of its differences in appearance from the normal cauliflower and broccoli have been modeled as an extension of the pre-inflorescence stage of the bud growth, but the genetic basis of this is not known. Number 4. Ackee. Caribbean countries are famous for the abundance of exotic fruits. Many tourists go there just to taste the rare fruits and of course enjoy the local pristine beaches. An interesting fruit called the ackee also grows here. In Jamaica, the ackee fruit is a mixed blessing. Though originally native to West Africa, it migrated in Jamaica in 1778 and is now the country's natural fruit. If improperly eaten though, ackee can cause what has been dubbed the Jamaican vomiting sickness, which other than the self-explanatory symptoms can lead to severe dehydration, convulsions, coma, or death. Unripe ackee fruit contains a poison called hypoglycin, so preparers must be careful to wait until the fruit's protective pods turn red and open naturally. Once open, the only edible portion is the yellow orili, which is always surrounded by toxic black seeds. With all that risk comes a delicious payoff. Jamaica's national dish is ackee with codfish. Number 5. Kazumazu. Italian cuisine is known for its diversity. Here you have a huge selection of wine, 100 types of pastas, pizza, and lasagna. Just thinking of it all might make you feel hungry. Italy is also famous for its cheeses, which are usually added to the main course or served as an independent snack. Some have exotic tastes and smells, but none of them quite beat the Kazumazu. This delicacy originates from the Italian Isle of Sardinia and is deemed a secret treat for those brave enough to try the unusual dish. A sheep's milk cheese intentionally infected with insect larvae. Kazumazu has a notorious reputation for being the most dangerous and illegal cheese in the world, with live maggots crawling within it. Banned for sale by the European Union, this creamy, spreadable cheese is best enjoyed slathered on Sardinian flatbread, accompanied by a full-bodied glass of red wine. Kazumazu, famed for its texture and slightly spicy taste, is supposedly an aphrodisiac. Kazumazu cheese is not safe. The reason is that the stomach of a person who has never tried this cheese before may not be able to digest the maggots, and they can settle inside the body for a while. This can cause a lot of other complications, hence why selling Kazumazu was banned many years ago, both by the Italian authorities and the European Union. However, in Sardinia, where Kazumazu is considered a national dish, it can still easily be purchased on the black market. Number 6. Thai soup. Any housewife knows that the longer soup simmers, the more delicious it becomes. This Bangkok restaurant defied all the limits though. Beef noodle soup has been cooked there for 45 years in a row. They began to cook on the day of the restaurant's opening. Since then, several generations of establishment owners have changed, but the pot of the beef soup still stood in its rightful place, and it's not that the owners are lazy or want the restaurant to get into the Guinness Book World of Records. According to them, this is all tribute to an ancient Thai tradition. The dish is a thick soup with giblets, stewed beef, noodles, and a huge amount of spices. You got to admit, even if the dish was fresh, not every stomach could handle it. But it would be wrong to say that the same soup has been simmering in the pot for 45 years. The reality is a bit different. Every day, visitors come to the restaurant and the soup leftovers are poured into the refrigerator by staff. The next morning, when the restaurant opens again, the leftovers are used as the basis for a new soup. About 25 kilograms of meat are added to the pot and mixed with flavors of the 45-year-old past. The pot is never washed. If you thought that such a delicacy is only popular among a dozen or two of the notorious thrill seekers, then you are mistaken. Hundreds of visitors come to the restaurant every day to try the soup and other internal dishes, and the restaurant even has prestigious Michelin star. 7. Bird nests. Most birds build their nest from dry grass and twigs, things nobody would call edible. But Asian gourmets are ready to pay about $2,000 for 1.5 kilograms of this delicacy. However, before you rush in search of family of swallows on your balcony, let us be clear. We're talking about very specific birds, these so-called swiftlets, who live only in certain parts of Southeast Asia. Therefore, why are their mysterious nests so special? The thing is, they consist entirely of the small bird's saliva. If you put such a nest into boiling water, the structure partially dissolves and turns into a strange jelly mass. It is then later used for making desserts, drinks, and soups. But the product's main value does not even lie in its exceptional taste. The Chinese believe the substance in the nest prolonged life, improves skin condition, prevent lung diseases, and even physical strength. The most interesting thing is that there are no reliable medical studies in the world that would confirm all these claims. In terms of chemistry, which are called caviar of the East in China, consists mainly of ordinary protein and carbohydrates. However, this does not prevent restaurants in Shanghai from selling magic soups for hundreds of dollars, and the entire nest-making industry is estimated at $5 billion. Number 8. Jellied eels. Jellied eels are a traditional English dish that originated in the 18th century. The dish consists of chopped eels boiled in a spice stock that is allowed to cool and set. It is eaten cold. In the 18th century, native eels were plentiful in the River Thames and estuary, and Dutch eel barges and fishmongers a common sight. One cheap and easy preparation, particularly among the East End working-class poor, was to chop the eels, boil them in herbs, and then allow them to cool. The eels would produce their own gelatin so that a soft jelly would form around the pieces. Today, a bit of gelatin is often added. When the first pie and mash shops began opening in the 19th century, jellied eels, stewed eels, boiled and served hot were the only other staple on the menu. Therefore, it is today the handful of legit eel pie and mash shops remaining. As for the taste, once you get past the soft texture, which can be off-putting, the taste is great. Mild and slightly salty, not all fishy. Number 9. Fish eyes. If you imagine a tasty dish of fish, you are more likely to conjure up visions of an appetizing fish fillet, or lobster, or maybe some delicately flavored crab meat. Of all the fish and seafood dishes you have tasted in the course of your life, your thoughts are hardly likely to turn to the eyes of these creatures. Precisely, the fish eyes most European and American countries call waste are considered to be a real delicacy of many Asian cuisines. Before you turn off this video, consider that it may be worthwhile learning more. You could discover a treat you will never want to go without. After scooping the eye from the socket of whichever unlucky mackerel or sea bass that landed on our table, I'd hold it in my mouth and savor the gooey outer layer before biting into the crispy, water-like center, letting the rich umami flavor of the ocean floor dance across my tongue. Slurp, yum. Hungry yet? Number 10. Worm omelette. Which product is essential for quick, delicious, and healthy breakfast? Char roux sandworm omelette is a Vietnamese dish made from the paralycat worm. It is most popular in Hanoi. It is prepared from live sandworms, which are put in hot water to remove their tentacles, and then mixed with raw egg. Onions and various spices are added, and the mixture is then fried until it obtains a crispy brown surface. Because the sandworms can only be found in autumn, the dish is not available year-round and is considered a specialty during the autumn. Some vendors use frozen sandworms to be able to serve the dish year-round. The sandworms are caught from mangroves in Hang Phong. The omelette is made out of worms. The dish called char roux is found in Hanoi, Vietnam, and must be prepared in a certain way, otherwise the worms will smell. Apparently, when prepared properly, the worms taste greasy, sweet and crunchy, and perfectly delightful. Many Hanoians view the creepy crawlies as a miracle from nature since they have such a short harvest season. So if for any reason this dish sounds appetizing to you, you'll have to get it at the right time.